I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. Now, case in point here, I am now currently beginning chapter 10 in 1 Kings. This chapter is a little bit long, but it contains a parallel story to the 9th chapter of 2 Chronicles. However, the 9th chapter of 2 Chronicles actually covers the same time period as chapter 10 and chapter 11 of 1 Kings, so we're going to be switching back and forth between these bits. So I'm going to do chapter 10 in two videos. We'll do the first part of chapter 10. We will then do the first half of chapter 9 in 2 Chronicles. Then I will go back and finish chapter 10 in 1 Kings and do the first half of chapter 11 in 1 Kings. At which point we will go back and finish chapter 9 in 2 Chronicles and then go and finish chapter 11 in 1 Kings. So that's how we're going to be skipping around here in our next few videos. But now, let us read chapter 10 in 1 Kings. The Queen of Sheba visits Solomon. His wealth and wisdom exceed those of all the kingdoms of the earth. And when the Queen of Sheba heard the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to prove him with hard questions. And she came to Jerusalem with a very great train, with camels that bear spices, and very much gold and precious stones. And when she was come to Solomon, she communed with him of all that was in his heart, that was in her heart. And Solomon told her all her questions. There was not anything hid from the king which he told her not. And when the Queen of Sheba had seen all Solomon's wisdom, and the house that he had built, and the meat of his table, and the sitting of his servants, and the attendance of his ministers, and their apparel, and his cupbearers, and his ascents, by which he went up unto the house of the Lord, there was no more spirit in her. Let's pause there a minute. In the footnotes here on the ascents, it says burnt offerings which he offered in the house of the Lord. Because remember, a burnt offering is a sweet savor unto the Lord, meaning the smoke is to ascend to heaven. So when it calls it his ascents, it's talking about his offerings that are made to God, that are ascending to heaven. Now, when it says that told her all her questions, it's not that he's telling her what she's asking. He's answering her questions. In the footnote, it says alternate Hebrew is matters or concerns. In other words, she came to him asking questions, and apparently she was asking not only questions of general concern, but of God specifically. That heard the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord. She came asking him about God, about the true religion. And he answered everything. There was nothing he couldn't answer. And then he took her on a tour of the kingdom, or at least of Jerusalem, and she sees all of the opulence, all of the luxury, all of his servants, all of the gold, all the food, everything that he has. And she sees not only is he a wise king, but he is a very wealthy and very powerful king. And that's what it means when there was no more spirit in her. She came to challenge Solomon. In other words, she wasn't just here because she was curious. She was here because she wanted to see if she could find a fault with Solomon. She was here to find something wrong. Not that I think she was trying to destroy Solomon. She wasn't trying to, but her thought was nobody can be as great as the stories I have heard of Solomon. So I'm going to go there and I'm going to prove that these stories are exaggerations. These stories aren't really true, that people are just telling stories to build up his reputation. But she gets there, she talks with him, she sees everything, and she gives up. She says, no, you're right. But now we get to how she actually says here. Verse 6, and she said to the king, it was a true report that I heard in mine own land of thy acts and thy wisdom. Howbeit I believed not the words until I came and mine eyes had seen it. And, behold, the half was not told me. Thy wisdom and prosperity exceedeth the fame which I heard. Happy are thy men, happy are these thy servants, which stand continually before thee, and that hear thy wisdom. Blessed be the Lord thy God, which delighted in thee, to set thee on the throne of Israel, because the Lord loved Israel forever. Therefore made he thee king to do judgment and justice. So in other words, she's saying, look, I didn't believe that. What people were telling me was just too incredible. I didn't believe it because there's no way anybody could be as great as that. But now I've come here, I've talked with you, I've seen everything, and I have to say that the reports I got were understated. You are much greater than what even the reports that I couldn't believe said. And God must have really loved Israel to make you king. This is I think the story of the Queen of Sheba here is put in here to give us a secondary account, a kind of a second witness to the wisdom and opulence of Solomon, to the greatness of Solomon's reign as king. If it was just Solomon's court recorders telling us, yeah, he was a great king, that would be one thing. But we have the Queen of Sheba telling us that not only is he great, but he is far greater than what even the people claim. Verse 10, and she gave the king 120 talents of gold, and of spices very great store, and precious stones. There came no more such abundance of spices as these, which the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. And the navy also of Hiram they brought gold from Ophir, and brought it from Ophir great plenty of almug trees, and precious stones. And the king made of the almug trees for the house of the Lord, and for the king's house, harps also, and psalteries for singers. There came no such almug trees, nor were such unto this day. And King Solomon gave unto the Queen of Sheba all her desire, whatsoever she asked, beside that which Solomon gave her of his royal bounty. So she turned and went to her own country, she and her servants. The story of the Queen of Sheba really does show us how great a king Solomon was. Now, there are some legends, some myths that Solomon had an affair with the Queen of Sheba, and she had a son by Solomon. And some people even try to claim that this son by Solomon, but the son by the Queen of Sheba, was the next king, Rehoboam. And so, in this way, they claim that Christ is descended from the Queen of Sheba. Now, this is not true. This is a legend that people have came up with, because Sheba is from Africa. It is a land in Africa. For a long time it was unknown, but I do believe that they have found evidence of it recently. But it is a land south of Egypt, and in what is now today, I believe... Oh, no, sorry. I was just looking it up. It's not south of Egypt. It's on the southern end of the Arabian Peninsula, which would be now the United Arab Emirates, that area. That was Sheba anciently. But anyways, those legends, they're interesting, but they're not really important. I just thought I'd mention it because, I like history and I like those kind of legends. But the story of the Queen of Sheba, as I said, it really is there to give us a second witness. Somebody outside, not only outside of Israel, but outside of the direct influence of Israel. These people are so far south that they do not have direct contact with Israel until Solomon builds his navy. Then his navy will be sailing past Sheba. But this is somebody from a fairly great distance that has no direct dealings with Israel, who is coming to see Solomon and giving this report of his greatness. That's why it's there. It's there to give us this. It's there to illustrate the greatness of Solomon, rather than just tell us, as everything else just kind of tells you, oh, he's making this much a year, he's doing this. But now we have a witness to demonstrate, to illustrate just how great Solomon was. And that's why it's here. So we'll pick this up in 2 Chronicles chapter 9, where we will once again read about the Queen of Sheba. So I will see you then.